All right, welcome. Today we're diving into something we all deal with every single day, trash. But behind every bin you put out on the curb, well, there's a massive hidden system at play. I mean, have you ever really stopped to think about it? You wheel the bin out, the truck comes, and poof, it's gone. But where exactly is gone? It's definitely not just away. So today, we're going to follow that truck and uncover this surprisingly complex journey of our everyday waste. Okay, to give you a sense of scale, just look at this number, 5,000 metric tons. That is how much solid waste gets generated every single day in just one major city, Bangalore. That's just mind-boggling. And here's the real kicker. That number is on track to more than double by 2033. We're talking about a mountain of trash, and it is growing fast. All right, so to even begin to tackle a problem this big, we've got to ask a basic question. What's actually in our trash anyway?
Well, the first step is to sort of categorize it. It's not all the same stuff. You've got your residential waste, that's the stuff from our homes. Then there's commercial waste from stores, hotels, and restaurants. And finally, institutional waste from places like schools and offices. And believe me, what we throw out at home is pretty different from what a big hotel throws out.
So when you break it all down, what does the mix actually look like? This is where it gets really interesting. A massive chunk of it, we're talking 40 to 60%, is compostable organic stuff. Food scraps, yard trimmings, that kind of thing. And understanding that, well, that's a total game changer for how we should be thinking about managing all this waste. Okay, so we know what's in it, but what happens when it isn't managed properly? Because let's be real, that's often the case. And that's when we start to see the hidden dangers of all this garbage. For starters, think about public health. These huge, uncontrolled dumps, they're basically perfect breeding grounds for disease vectors. We're talking flies, mosquitoes, rodents, the whole lot. And this isn't just a nuisance. It is a direct health risk, spreading serious diseases like typhoid and malaria, not just to nearby communities, but especially to the sanitation workers who are on the front lines dealing with this stuff every day. And the environmental impact? It's just as bad, if not worse. You get air pollution from people just burning trash out in the open. You get this nasty, toxic sludge. It's called leachate that seeps out of the garbage and contaminates the soil and our water. And then there's the methane gas. All that rotting organic stuff we talked about, it releases methane, which can literally build up and create a risk of explosion. No joke. Okay, I know that all that sounds pretty grim, but it's not hopeless. In fact, there's a really clear, internationally recognized blueprint for a solution, a way to tackle this crisis head-on. It's called the waste management hierarchy. Think of it like a pyramid or a set of priorities. It gives us a clear game plan, and the absolute most important rule is right there at the top. The best thing we can do is to not create waste in the first place. So let's talk about that top step, prevention. This is all about getting ahead of the problem, right? Tackling it at the source. A great example is just designing products with less packaging. If the waste is never created, you never have to deal with it. Simple as that. Okay, moving down the hierarchy, we get to recycling and recovery. This is where we give our trash a second chance, a new life. It's about taking materials like plastic, glass, and metal and turning them back into new products. And recovery can even mean converting some types of waste into useful energy, like heat or electricity. Now, what about the stuff that can't be prevented or recycled? Well, that's where treatment comes in. The whole goal here is to make what's left over safer and more manageable. We're trying to reduce its size or its toxicity before we move on to the final last resort option. And that brings us to the very bottom of the pyramid, disposal. This should always be the last resort. This is when we're talking about putting waste into a properly engineered sanitary landfill. It's for the stuff that has absolutely no other place to go after we've tried everything else. So we've talked about this huge, complex system, but here's the most important part. Understanding how all of this connects right back to us, to you, and the actions we can take every single day. This quote here really says it all. The single most powerful thing any of us can do as an individual, a family, a business, is something called source segregation. It sounds technical, but it just means separating our waste right where we create it. Wet from dry, recyclables from trash. And that one simple choice, it's like a fork in the road. On one path, when we separate our waste, we unlock its value. We make recycling easier, we reduce what goes to the landfill, and we make the whole process safer for workers. But on the other path, when we just mix it all together, we contaminate everything. Recyclables become trash, it's harder and riskier to handle, and it ends up releasing those harmful gases we talked about.
I mean, the benefits of just doing that one thing are massive. It's a total win-win-win. You get cleaner materials, which means better recycling. You send way less stuff to the landfill. It actually reduces energy and labor costs for the whole system. And it helps build up the recycling industry. It's a positive ripple effect that touches everything from our environment to our economy. You know, in the end, our waste tells a story about how we live. It really does. And by just rethinking what we throw away and how we do it, we can actually change that story. We can change it from a tale of waste and carelessness to one of resourcefulness and responsibility. So I'll leave you with this. What story will yours tell?